The warning lights flashed red across the research station's main deck. Dr. Juan pressed his face against the viewing window and stared down at the planet below. Kepler 440 looked peaceful from space, with its blue oceans and green continents. But the energy readings told a different story. "The signatures are off the charts," said Commander Vex. The Velkari military officer, his forearms moved quickly across the control panel. "Whatever's down there has enough power to destroy a small moon." Dr. Juan nodded but kept looking at the planet. Something about this felt different from other dangerous discoveries. The energy patterns were not random. They had a rhythm to them, like waves on a beach. "We need to go down and see what it is," Juan said. The other council members looked at him like he was crazy. There were 12 different species represented on the station. The tall, bird-like Aventi, the rock-skinned Gorons, the insect-faced Chithin. All of them thought humans were too curious for their own good. "Are you insane?" asked Dr. Vex, the Chithon scientist. His compound eyes glittered with worry. "The energy readings suggest something massive down there, something that could kill us all." "We are scientists," Juan replied. "Our job is to study things, not run from them." Commander Vex made a clicking sound that meant disagreement in Velkari. "My job is to keep everyone alive. If that thing down there is hostile, we should destroy it from orbit before it becomes a problem." The debate went on for hours. Most species wanted to either leave immediately or attack from a safe distance. Only the humans voted to investigate. Finally, the council agreed to one quick survey mission. If anything looked dangerous, they would retreat and call for military backup. The landing shuttle carried 6 beings. Commander Vex brought heavy weapons. Dr. Vex carried scanning equipment. The Goron representative Stonewalker came along because his people were hard to kill. 2 other species sent representatives who stayed quiet during the flight down. Dr. Juan brought only basic scientific tools and a recording device. The shuttle landed on a rocky plain about 5 miles from where the energy readings were strongest. As soon as they stepped outside, they could hear it. A low, rumbling sound that made the ground shake under their feet. "Seismic activity, Doctor," Vex reported, checking his scanner. "But it is not natural. Something is making those vibrations." They walked toward the source of the sound. The landscape looked normal at first. Rolling hills covered with purple grass and strange, twisted trees. But as they got closer, the signs of destruction became clear. Rocks were scattered everywhere like someone had thrown them around. Trees were snapped in half. Deep gouges ran through the ground in long, straight lines. Whatever lived here was big enough to reshape the landscape just by moving around. "Look at the damage," whispered Stonewalker.
"Oh."
His rock-like skin had turned a darker shade, which meant he was scared. This creature could level an entire city. The sound got louder as they walked. It was not just one noise, but many sounds mixed together. Deep groans, sharp cracks, a rumbling that felt like thunder underground. Most of the team had to cover their ears. But Dr. Juan noticed something else. Between the loud sounds, there were quieter ones. Softer noises that almost sounded like sighing. Like someone in pain trying not to cry out. They reached the top of a hill and finally saw it. The creature was enormous. Bigger than any living thing Juan had ever seen. It was the size of a small mountain, with a body that seemed to be made of dark, rippling flesh. Strange crystals grew out of its back and sides, glowing with harsh white light. Energy crackled around these crystals like lightning frozen in place. The being moved constantly. Its massive form shifted and writhed like it could not find a comfortable position. Every movement sent shockwaves through the ground. When it lifted what might have been its head, the team could see that its eyes were closed tight, as if it was in terrible pain. "Category 9 hostile entity," Commander Vex said immediately. His weapons were already charging. "We need to evacuate and call for orbital bombardment." "Agreed," said Dr. Vex. "The destructive potential is beyond calculation. One swipe from that thing could kill thousands." The other team members nodded and began backing away. They had seen enough. This was clearly a monster that needed to be destroyed before it could hurt anyone. But Dr. Juan did not move. He kept watching the creature, studying its movements. "Doctor, we need to leave now," Commander Vex called. "Wait," Juan said. Look at how it moves. It moves like something that wants to crush us, Stonewalker replied. No. Juan shook his head. Look closer. It is not trying to attack anything. It is not looking for prey. It is not even paying attention to us. He was right. The creature had not seemed to notice the small group of beings watching it. Its movements were focused inward, like someone tossing and turning in bed because they could not sleep. The pattern of movement, Juan continued. It repeats every 47 seconds. Always the same sequence. Shift left, arch the back, lower the head, shift right. That is not aggressive behavior. That is distress behavior. You are making assumptions, Commander Thex warned. We cannot take risks with something this dangerous. But Juan was already walking down the hill toward the creature. The others called after him, begging him to come back. Commander Thex even threatened to stun him with a weapon, but Juan kept walking. As he got closer, the sounds became clearer. Yes, there were the loud crashes and rumbles that sounded like destruction, but underneath, there were other sounds. Soft moans, heavy breathing, kind of noises someone makes when they are very sick or hurt. The creature's skin was not smooth like it had appeared from a distance. Up close, Juan could see that it was covered in scars, old wounds that had healed badly. The crystals growing from its flesh were not natural. They looked like something that had been forced into the creature's body against its will. When Juan was about 100 yards away, the creature suddenly went still. Its massive head turned slowly toward him. For a moment, Juan thought he might have made a terrible mistake. But when their eyes met, Juan did not see anger or hunger. He saw exhaustion, saw pain. He saw something that reminded him of the stray dogs back on Earth that just wanted a safe place to rest. The creature looked at him for a long moment, then slowly closed its eyes again and resumed its restless movements. Juan pulled out his recording device and began documenting what he saw. Not a monster, but a patient, something that needed help, not destruction. Behind him, Commander Thex was already calling the orbital station to request immediate evacuation and military support. The first contact protocol was clear. When faced with a potential threat, retreat and neutralize from a safe distance. But Dr. Juan had a different protocol in mind. When faced with suffering, you try to help. Dr. Juan refused to leave the planet. Even when Commander Thex ordered him back to the shuttle, Juan shook his head and kept walking toward the creature. I am staying here, Juan said into his communication device. This being needs help, not bullets. You are disobeying direct orders, Commander Thex replied through the radio. His voice was angry. The Council has classified this as a hostile situation. Then the Council is wrong, Juan said simply. The other team members had already returned to the shuttle. Within an hour, they were back on the orbital station, leaving Juan alone on the planet's surface. He could hear them arguing over the radio about what to do next. Dr. Vex wanted to drag Juan back by force. Commander Thex suggested stunning him with a paralysis beam and carrying him to safety. Stonewalker thought they should just leave the crazy human and let him learn his lesson the hard way. But Dr. Mira, Juan's research partner back on the station, supported his decision. Let him work. Her voice came through the radio. Juan has been studying alien life forms for 15 years. If he says this creature's not hostile, we should listen. One human opinion against 11 species, Commander Thex replied. The math is simple. Sometimes being right is not about numbers, Ira said. Juan smiled as he listened to his colleague defend him. Mira was the smartest person he knew. If she believed in his judgment, that was all the support he needed. He set up a small camp about 200 yards from the creature. Close enough to observe, far enough to run if necessary. The being seemed to know he was there but showed no interest in harming him. For the first day, Juan just watched and took notes. The creature never stopped moving. Every 47 seconds, it went through the same pattern. Shift left, arch its back, lower its head, shift right. Then it would make soft sounds that reminded Juan of whimpering. The crystals on its back pulsed with light and rhythm, its movements. But the light was harsh and cold. Nothing like the warm glow that healthy creatures usually produced. Myra, are you getting my data stream? Juan asked into his radio. Yes, I see everything, came her voice from the orbital station. The bio readings are very strange. The creature's heart rate is extremely fast for something that size. Its brain activity suggests it is in constant stress, like it is in pain. Exactly like that. Juan moved his camp closer. The creature noticed but did not react aggressively. If anything, it seemed calmer when Juan was nearby. On the second day, something unexpected happened. A storm rolled across the landscape. The wind was strong enough to knock Juan off his feet. Rain fell in sheets that made it impossible to see more than a few yards. Juan's small shelter was not built for weather like this. The wind tore away his protective covering. Rain soaked through his equipment. He was about to lose everything when something blocked the storm. The massive creature had shifted its position. Its enormous body now stood between Juan and the worst of the wind. The being had moved to protect him. Did you see that? Juan shouted into his radio over the sound of the storm. See what? Myra's voice crackled with static. It moved to shelter me. A hostile creature would not do that. When the storm passed, Juan found his equipment dry and undamaged. The creature had kept him safe without being asked. Interesting data point, Myra said when Juan reported what happened. But the Council still considers it too dangerous. Commander Thex is requesting permission to begin neutralization protocols. How long do I have? 48 hours? Maybe less. Juan knew he was running out of time. He needed to prove the creature was not a threat. But more than that, he needed to figure out how to help it. He started studying the crystals more closely. They were not part of the creature's natural body. That much was clear. They had been attached somehow, growing into the flesh over time. Mira, look at these crystal formations, he said, transmitting close-up images. They do not match the creature's biology. You are right, she replied after studying the data. They appear to be foreign objects. Maybe some kind of implant. Could they be causing the pain? It is possible. If something was constantly draining your energy or sending signals to your nervous system, it would be in agony too. That night, Juan barely slept. He kept thinking about the creature's movements. The way it shifted and writhed like it was trying to escape something. What if it was not just in pain, but trapped? The next morning brought bad news. Commander Thex's voice came over the radio with a formal announcement. Dr. Juan, you have 24 hours to complete your research and return to the shuttle. After that, we begin orbital bombardment of the target. You cannot do that, Juan protested. This being has done nothing wrong. It is too dangerous to leave alive, Thex replied. The safety of the galaxy comes first. Juan looked at the creature. It was going through its usual pattern of movements, but something was different. Its sounds were quieter today. Its movements slower. It was getting weaker. Mira, I need you to run a full analysis on the energy signatures, he said. Focus on the crystals. I think they are not just causing pain. I think they are killing it. For hours, Mira worked with the data from the orbital station. She ran every test she could think of. Finally, she came back with results that changed everything. Juan, those crystals are parasites, she said. They are slowly draining the creature's life force. The energy readings we detected were not signs of aggression. They were distress signals. How long does it have? At the current rate of drain, maybe a few weeks. The creature is dying. Juan felt sick. Here was a being that had probably lived for centuries, maybe longer. It was dying slowly and painfully while everyone assumed it was a monster. There has to be a way to remove the parasites, he said. Maybe, Mira replied, but it would be dangerous. We would need to work directly on the creature's body, and it would have to trust us completely. That evening, Juan sat near his camp and watched the creature go through its endless cycle of pain. Every movement was a cry for help that no one had understood until now. He made a decision that would either save the creature's life or end his own. Tomorrow, he would try to communicate with it. The creature seemed to sense his resolve. For the first time since Juan had arrived, it looked directly at him and held his gaze. In those ancient eyes, Juan saw intelligence. He saw awareness, and he saw hope. Juan woke up before sunrise. Today was his last chance to prove the creature was not a monster. In 18 hours, Commander Thex would begin the orbital bombardment. He packed his recording equipment and walked toward the creature. It was making the same sounds as always, but Juan listened more carefully now. There was something about those noises that seemed familiar. "Mira, are you monitoring?" He spoke into his radio. "Always," came her reply from the orbital station. "What are you thinking?" "These sounds the creature makes. They are not random, are they?" "I have been analyzing them all night," Mira said. "You are right. There are patterns, repetitions. It almost looks like language. But the frequencies are all wrong." Juan stopped walking. "Wrong how?" "Too loud. Too deep. The sound waves are actually damaging to most species' hearing. That is why everyone thinks the creature is trying to hurt them. What if it is not trying to hurt anyone? What if it is just trying to talk?" There was silence on the radio for a moment. Then Myra's excited voice came through. "Juan, you might be onto something. Let me run the audio through different filters." While Mira worked on the data, Juan sat down near the creature and really listened. The being was making sounds constantly. Low rumbles that made his bones shake, higher-pitched whines that hurt his ears, sharp cracks that sounded like breaking glass, but between the painful sounds, there were softer ones. Gentle vibrations that felt almost musical. Those were the sounds that reminded him of sighing or whimpering. "I have something," Mira announced. "If I filter out the harmful frequencies and adjust the pitch, the creature's vocalizations match the structure of spoken language. Can you translate it?" "Not yet. But I can make it safe to listen to. And maybe build a device that lets you communicate back." For the next 4 hours, Mira worked on creating a translation interface. Meanwhile, Juan observed the creature's behavior more closely. Every time it made certain sounds, it would look in different directions. When it made other sounds, it would touch the crystals on its back with what looked like arms or tentacles. "It is trying to tell us something specific," Juan reported. "The sounds change depending on what it is doing." "The translation device is ready," Mira said. "I am sending it down in a supply pod." The small pod landed near Juan's camp. Inside was a device about the size of a briefcase. It had speakers, microphones, and a screen that showed sound waves. "How does it work?" Juan asked. "It converts the creature's sounds into frequencies that won't damage your hearing. And it can take your voice and change it so the creature can understand you better." Juan set up the device and turned it on. Immediately, the painful sounds from the creature became bearable. More than that, they became clearly recognizable as communication. The creature was saying the same things over and over. Through the device, Juan could hear words in a language he did not understand. The emotion behind them was clear. Pain, sadness, loneliness. "It is talking," Juan whispered. "It has been trying to talk to us this whole time." He activated the devices. Output mode and spoke into the microphone. "Hello," he said simply. The creature stopped moving. For the first time since Juan had arrived, it went completely still. Its massive head turned toward him, and he could see its eyes were open and alert. A sound came from the creature. Through the translation device, it was soft and wondering. "Hello?" It seemed to say back. Juan's heart was beating fast. This was first contact with an intelligent species, and he was doing it alone on a planet that would be bombed in 14 hours. "My name is Juan," he said. "I want to help you." The creature was quiet for a long time. Then it made a series of complex sounds. The translation device worked to convert them, and words appeared on the screen. "Help. No help for me. Too long. Too much pain? What is causing the pain?" Juan asked. The creature lifted one of its limbs and touched the crystals on its back. "These, stuck in me, cannot remove, cannot sleep, cannot heal. How long have you had them?" "Many seasons of stars, many cycles of worlds." "Long time in pain?" Juan realized the creature was talking about centuries, maybe longer. It had been suffering for an unimaginable amount of time. "Where do you come from?" he asked. "Far place. between the spaces. My people travel the deep roads to find rest places. Your people? There are others like you? Yes, but I cannot reach them. Trapped here? Cannot enter the healing sleep. The conversation continued for hours. Through the translation device, Juan learned the creature's story. It belonged to a species called the Eternal Wanderers. They traveled between dimensions, looking for suitable worlds where they could hibernate for thousands of years to heal and grow. The creature's name was something that translated roughly as Depressed Seeker, but it told Juan to call it whatever was easy for him. I will call you Goliath, Juan said, thinking of the biblical giant. Goliath, the creature repeated, and somehow it sounded pleased. Goliath explained that it had been captured by beings it called crystal feeders, a species that fed on life energy. They had implanted the parasitic crystals to slowly drain Goliath's power. The crystal feeders were gone now, dead for centuries, but the crystals remained. They feed on me always, Goliath said. Make me weak. Make me hurt. Cannot sleep. Cannot heal. Why have you not asked for help before? I try, I call out, but my voice hurts the small beings. They think I attack them. They run or fight. No one listens. Juan understood now. Every time Goliath had encountered other species, its attempts to communicate had been seen as attacks. The creature had been alone with its pain for so long that it had almost given up hope. Listen to me, Goliath, Juan said. There are people trying to hurt you right now. They think you are dangerous. But I am going to help you. I promise. You are small, Goliath replied. How can small being help? Sometimes small beings can do big things. On the orbital station, the debate was getting heated. Commander Thex was preparing the bombardment systems. Most of the council members agreed that the creature is too dangerous to leave alive, but Dr. Mira was sending them recordings of the conversation between Juan and Goliath. For the first time, the council could hear the creature's actual words instead of just painful noise. This changes everything, Dr. Vex admitted. It is clearly intelligent. It is asking for help, not threatening anyone. Intelligence makes it more dangerous, not less, Commander Thex argued. A smart monster is worse than a dumb one. It is not a monster, Mira said firmly. It is a patient. A being that has been tortured for centuries and just wants the pain to stop. The argument continued. But Juan was running out of time. In 6 hours, the bombardment would begin whether the council agreed or not. He looked at Goliath, was watching him with ancient, tired eyes. I have an idea, Juan said, but it will be dangerous for both of us. Are you willing to trust me? You are first to listen, Goliath replied. You are first to care. I trust you, small friend. Juan smiled. Tomorrow, he would either save Goliath's life or die trying. But at least now he knew the truth. The monster everyone feared was really just a soul that needed rest. Juan spent the next several hours learning more about Goliath's past. Each conversation revealed how much the creature had suffered, and how wrong everyone had been about him. Tell me about your people, Juan said through the translation device. The Eternal Wanderers. Goliath's massive form shifted slightly. Even talking about his home seemed to bring him some comfort. We are old, Goliath said. Older than most stars you see in sky. We travel between the spaces, between worlds that exist in different layers of reality. Why do you travel? We must rest. Every few thousand years, we need deep sleep to heal our bodies and minds. But we cannot sleep just anywhere. We need special places with the right energy. Juan tried to imagine what that would be like. To live for thousands of years, traveling between dimensions, always searching for a safe place to rest. This world was supposed to be my resting place, Goliath continued. The energy here felt right, perfect for healing sleep. But when I arrived, the crystal feeders were waiting. How did they capture you? They had been hunting my people for a long time. They would find us when we were weakest, just before we entered our rest cycle. That is when we are most vulnerable. Goliath explained that the crystal feeders were parasites who fed on life energy. They had discovered that the Eternal Wanderers were like giant batteries, storing massive amounts of power that could be drained slowly over centuries. They put the crystals in me while I was preparing to sleep, Goliath said. The crystals prevent the rest cycle and drain my energy at the same time. Perfect trap. What happened to the crystal feeders? They are gone now, dead for many centuries, but their crystals remain. Still feeding, even though there is no one to take the energy they collect? Juan realized that Goliath had been trapped here longer than human civilization had existed. The creature had been suffering while humans were still learning to make fire. Have you tried to remove the crystals yourself? Many times, but they grow deep into my flesh. If I pull too hard, I will die. If I leave them, I die slowly. No good choice. The translation device crackled as urgent voices came through from the orbital station. Dr. Mira was trying to convince the council to stop the attack. But time was running out. Dr. Juan, Commander Vex's voice cut through the static. You have 2 hours to return to the shuttle. The bombardment begins whether you are there or not. I am not leaving, Juan replied. Then you will die with the monster. His name is Goliath, and he is not a monster. But even as Juan defended his new friend, he could see the problem. The other council members were still afraid. To them, Goliath was a being with the power to destroy planets. It did not matter that he was peaceful now. What if he changed his mind? Dr. Vex's voice came over the radio. Even if the creature is not hostile now, what happens when it heals? What if removing those crystals makes it stronger? Strong enough to threaten entire star systems? These are valid concerns, agreed Stonewalker. We cannot risk the safety of billions of beings for one creature, no matter how much it has suffered. Juan understood their fear, but he also knew they were wrong. He had spent days with Goliath. He had seen the creature's gentle nature, even in pain. Goliath, Juan said, the people on the station are afraid of you. They think you might hurt others if you become strong again. I understand their fear, Goliath replied. I am very large. My people have great power, but we do not use power to harm others. We are travelers and healers, not warriors. How can I prove that to them? Goliath was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was sad but determined. There is something I can show them, but it will require trust from both sides. What do you mean? I can share my memories with you, all of them. You will see my life as I have lived it. You will know if I speak truth or lies. Juan felt a chill run down his spine. Is that safe? For me, yes. For you, I do not know. Your mind is much smaller than mine. The memories of thousands of years might be too much. It was a huge risk. If Goliath was lying, if he really was dangerous, sharing minds with him could kill Juan or drive him insane. But it might be the only way to prove Goliath's innocence to the council. How do we do it? You must touch one of the crystals. They are connected to my nervous system. Through them, you can see what I have seen. Juan looked at the glowing crystals on Goliath's back. They pulsed with cold light and made a sound like electrical wires sparking. Touching one seemed like a very bad idea. I will do it, he said. Wait. Dr. Mira's voice came urgently through the radio. Juan, what are you planning? He explained Goliath's offer to share memories. The reaction from the orbital station was immediate and loud. Absolutely not, Commander Vex shouted. That creature could take control of your mind or kill you instantly, added Dr. Vex. It is too dangerous, Stonewalker agreed. We will not allow it, but Dr. Kong, the human representative on the council, spoke up for the first time. It is not their choice to make, Kong said quietly. Dr. Juan is a scientist. If he believes this is necessary for his research, we must respect his decision. This is not research, Commander Vex protested. This is suicide, maybe Kong replied. But it is his choice to make. Juan was grateful for the support, but he knew the others were right to be worried. What he was planning was incredibly dangerous. But it might be the only way to save Goliath's life. Goliath, if I do this, will you be able to control what I see? Yes, I will show you only what you need to know. My travels, my people. our peaceful ways? You will see that we harm no one, and if the council still decides to attack you after they see the truth, then I will face death knowing that at least one being understood who I really am." Juan walked toward the nearest crystal. It was about the size of his head, growing out of Goliath's shoulder like a twisted tree. As he got closer, he could feel energy radiating from it. His skin tingled and his hair stood on end. "Are you ready?" Goliath asked. "No," Juan replied honestly, "but I am going to do it anyway." He reached out slowly and placed his hand on the crystal's surface. It was warm to the touch, like skin with a fever. For a moment nothing happened. Then the world exploded into light and sound and memory. Juan saw the birth of stars. He felt the loneliness of traveling between empty dimensions. He experienced the joy of finding a perfect resting world and the peace of deep. Healing sleep, he saw Goliath's people as they really were. Gentle giants who helped young civilizations learn to use energy safely. Travelers who carried messages between distant worlds. Healers who could mend broken planets with their touch. And he saw the crystal feeders. Parasitic beings who hunted the wanderers like wolves hunting deer. He felt Goliath's terror when he realized he had been trapped. The agony of the crystals growing into his flesh. The despair of centuries spent in constant pain. When the vision ended, Juan collapsed to his knees. His head was spinning and his stomach felt sick. But he was alive, and he had seen the truth. The memories, he gasped into his radio. "Did you record them?" "Every second," Mira replied. "I am sending them to the council now." One by one, the other species representatives watched Goliath's memories. They saw thousands of years of peaceful travel and gentle contact with other civilizations. They saw a being whose only crime was trusting the wrong people at the wrong time. When the last memory finished playing, the council chamber was silent. Finally, Dr. Vex spoke. "I was wrong. This being is not a threat. It is a victim." "The evidence is clear," Stonewalker agreed. "But the question remains, what do we do now?" Commander Vex, who had been silent during the memory playback, finally spoke. "We help him," he said quietly. "We find a way to remove those crystals." Juan smiled as he listened to the council change their minds. Goliath had been right. Sometimes the truth was enough to overcome fear, but removing the crystals would be the most dangerous part of all. The council meeting lasted 3 hours. When it ended, Dr. Mira called Juan with the decision. "We are going to try to save him," she said, "but it will not be easy. The crystals are connected to major parts of his nervous system. One wrong move could kill him." "What is the plan?" Juan asked. "You and I will work together. I will guide you from the orbital station while you do the actual surgery on the planet." Juan felt his stomach drop. Surgery? On something the size of a mountain? It is the only way. The crystals have to be removed carefully, one at a time. And Goliath will have to stay awake during the whole process. Why can't he sleep through it? Anesthesia that could affect something his size would probably kill him. And we need him conscious, so he can tell us if we are doing damage. The idea was terrifying. Juan was a scientist, not a surgeon. He had never performed any kind of medical procedure, let alone on a being from another dimension. "What if I make a mistake?" "Then we both die," Myra said simply. "But if we do nothing, he dies anyway. At least this way, he has a chance." The next day, supply shuttles began arriving from the orbital station. They brought medical equipment that had been modified for Goliath's size. Cutting tools that could slice through crystal. Healing devices that could seal wounds. Pain medication that might help a little with the agony of the operation. Dr. Vex came down from the station to help. The insectoid scientist had experience with parasitic removal. Even though he had never worked on anything bigger than a small animal, the key is patience. Dr. Vex explained as they set up the equipment. "We cannot rush this. Each crystal must be removed slowly and carefully." Commander Vex also came down, but he brought weapons instead of medical supplies. "If something goes wrong," he said, "if the creature becomes dangerous during the operation, I will be ready." Juan did not like having weapons nearby, but he understood the precaution. They were about to cause Goliath incredible pain. If the ancient being lost control, they would all die. Stone Walker arrived with heavy lifting equipment. His rock-like strength would be needed to move some of the larger crystals once they were cut free. "This is the strangest medical team in galactic history," Mira commented over the radio. "But it might just work." They started with the smallest crystal, one about the size of Juan's fist, growing from Goliath's lower back. Through the translation device, they explained the plan to their patient. "We are going to cut the crystals out of you," Juan told Goliath. "It will hurt very badly. You must stay as still as possible, no matter how much pain you feel." "I understand," Goliath replied. "I have lived with pain for centuries. I can endure more if it means freedom. If the pain becomes too much, tell us to stop." "No," Goliath said firmly. "Do not stop unless I am dying. This may be my only chance." Sean positioned himself next to the first crystal. Up close, he could see how deeply it had grown into Goliath's flesh. Veins of crystal spread out like roots from the main growth. Some of them pulsed with Goliath's heartbeat. "Mira." "I am in position," he said. "I see everything through your camera feed," she replied. "Start by making a small cut along the edge of the crystal. Try to follow the natural line where it meets the skin." Juan activated the cutting tool. It hummed with energy as he touched it to Goliath's skin. The moment the blade made contact, Goliath's entire body shuddered. "Are you all right?" Juan asked. "Continue," Goliath said through gritted teeth. "I can bear it." The first cut was the hardest. Juan had to fight against every instinct that told him to stop hurting this gentle being. But he forced himself to continue, following Mira's instructions as she guided him through the process. "Good," Mira said. "Now you need to separate the crystal from the nerve bundle it is attached to. This will be the most painful part." Juan used a smaller tool to carefully disconnect the crystal from Goliath's nervous system. The moment he touched the nerve cluster, Goliath let out a sound that made the ground shake. Through the translation device, it was clearly a scream of agony. "I am sorry," Juan whispered. "I am so sorry." "Keep going," Goliath managed to say. "Please, keep going." It took 2 hours to remove the first crystal. When it finally came free, Goliath's breathing became easier. The constant tension in his body relaxed slightly. "How do you feel?" Juan asked. "Better," Goliath said, and there was wonder in his voice. "For the first time in centuries, that part of me does not hurt." They moved on to the second crystal. This one was larger and had grown deeper into Goliath's body. The removal process took 4 hours and required Dr. Vex to help with the more delicate nerve work. Throughout the procedure, Goliath never asked them to stop. Even when the pain made him cry out so loudly that rocks cracked around them, he endured it. His trust in Juan and the medical team was absolute. "You are incredibly brave," Juan told him during a brief rest between crystals. "Not brave," Goliath replied. "Desperate. This pain has been my world for so long. The chance to be free from it makes any suffering worthwhile." By the third crystal, they had developed a rhythm. Juan and Dr. Vex worked together, with Mira providing guidance from Orbit and Stonewalker, helping to extract the larger pieces. Even Commander. Dex put down his weapons and helped by monitoring Goliath's vital signs. "His heart rate is elevated but stable," Dex reported. "Pain levels are extreme, but he is handling it." The fourth crystal was the worst. It had grown around one of Goliath's major arteries. One wrong cut could cause him to bleed to death in minutes. "We need to be extra careful here," Mira warned. "Take your time." Juan's hands were shaking from exhaustion, but he forced himself to stay steady. This crystal had been draining Goliath's strength for longer than the others. Its removal would make the biggest difference. "Talk to me," Juan said to Goliath as he worked. "Tell me about the places you have traveled." Goliath began describing worlds of crystal and light. Dimensions where time flowed backward. Planets where the oceans were made of liquid starlight. His voice helped calm Juan's nerves and gave them both something to focus on besides the pain. When the fourth crystal finally came free, the change in Goliath was immediate and dramatic. Color returned to his skin. The harsh, crackling energy around him faded to a soft, warm glow. "I can feel my strength returning," Goliath said with amazement. "It has been so long since I felt truly alive." There were 3 crystals left, but they were the largest and most dangerous to remove. The operation had already taken 12 hours. Both Juan and Dr. Vex were exhausted. "Should we rest?" Dr. Vex asked. "We could continue tomorrow." "No," Goliath said immediately. "Please do not stop now. I can feel the remaining crystals fighting to drain the energy you have freed. If we wait, they might grow stronger." So they continued. The 5th and 6th crystals took another 8 hours to remove. By now, everyone on the medical team was running on pure determination. The final crystal was the largest of all. It had grown around Goliath's spine and connected to his brain. Removing it was the most dangerous part of the entire operation. "If we make a mistake here," Mira warned, "he could lose the ability to move or think. Then we do not make a mistake." Juan said simply. The last crystal took 14 hours to remove. Juan's hands were bleeding from gripping the tools so tightly. Dr. Vex had to take medication to stay awake. Stonewalker's usually indestructible skin was cracked from the strain of moving heavy crystal pieces. But finally, after more than 30 hours of surgery, the last parasitic crystal came free. The moment it was removed, Goliath's transformation was complete. The angry red inflammation that had covered his skin faded away. His natural color was revealed to be a beautiful, shifting pattern of blues and greens that moved like ocean waves. The harsh, crackling energy was gone, replaced by a gentle radiance that felt warm and peaceful. Even his size seemed different somehow, more graceful than threatening. "How do you feel?" Juan asked. Goliath was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was filled with tears of joy. "Free," he said. "For the first time in centuries, I am free." The operation was over. They had done the impossible. The monster everyone had feared was gone. And in its place was a being of remarkable beauty and gentleness. But the best part was yet to come. In the hours after the last crystal was removed, everyone watched in amazement as Goliath changed before their eyes. The transformation was unlike anything they had ever seen. His skin, which had been rough and scarred, became smooth and beautiful. Colors flowed across his body like water, deep blues, soft greens, and shimmering silvers that reminded Juan of Earth's northern lights. The wounds left by the crystals healed so quickly that within an hour, there were no signs they had ever existed. "His cellular regeneration rate is incredible," Dr. Vex reported as he studied his medical scanners. "The healing process is happening 50 times faster than it should be possible." But the most dramatic change was in Goliath's energy signature. The harsh, crackling electricity that had made him seem dangerous was completely gone. In its place was a gentle warmth that felt like sitting by a fireplace on a cold day. "The energy readings are still enormous," Amira said from the orbital station. "But now they feel ... peaceful. Healing instead of destructive." Goliath himself seemed amazed by the changes. He moved his massive limbs carefully, as if rediscovering his own body. "I had forgotten," he said through the translation device, his voice now deep and musical instead of painful to hear. "I had forgotten what it felt like to exist without constant agony. How do you feel?" Juan asked, "Like myself again. For the first time in centuries, I remember who I am." As if to demonstrate, Goliath began to sing. The sound was unlike anything the medical team had ever heard. It was not words, but pure music that seemed to come from the planet itself. The melody was ancient and complex, rising and falling like the movement of stars across the sky, but more than beautiful. The song had an effect on everything around them. Plants began to grow faster. The air became cleaner and easier to breathe. Even the team members felt their exhaustion fading as the music washed over them. "What is that song?" Stonewalker asked in wonder. His usually gruff voice was soft with amazement. "A healing song," Goliath replied when the melody ended. "My people use music to repair damage to worlds and beings. I have not been able to sing properly for so long, Commander Vex. I'd spent days planning to destroy Goliath, now stood with tears in his 4 eyes. I was so wrong, he said quietly. We all were. This being is not a weapon. He is a healer. Dr. Vex was examining the effects of Goliath's song on the local environment. The plants around us have grown several weeks' worth in just minutes. The soil composition has improved dramatically. Even the air quality is better. This is what my people do, Goliath explained. We travel between worlds to help them heal. Planets that have been damaged by war or natural disasters. Civilizations that have hurt their environments. We sing the songs of restoration and repair. Juan realized that everything they had thought about Goliath was backwards. He was not a creature of destruction, but of creation. Not a monster, but a gardener on a galactic scale. The crystal feeders, Juan said. They were not just stealing your energy. They were preventing you from helping others. Yes, for centuries. Worlds that needed healing have gone without it because I was trapped here. My people probably think I am dead. The sadness in Goliath's voice was heartbreaking. Juan thought about all the planets that might have suffered because one gentle giant had been unable to reach them. Over the next few days, Goliath's presence transformed the entire area around their camp. What had been a barren, rocky landscape became a garden paradise. Strange flowers bloomed in impossible colors. Trees grew in perfect spirals that seemed to reach toward the stars. Streams of clean water appeared where there had been none before. It is not magic, Goliath explained when Dr. Vex asked how he was changing the environment. Everything I do follows natural laws. I simply help things become what they want to be. What do you mean? Hun asked. This planet was damaged long ago by the crystal feeders. They drained its life energy, just as they drained mine. But the potential for beauty and life is still here. I am just helping it remember how to grow. The transformation was not limited to plants and landscape. The team members themselves began to feel different, stronger, healthier, more peaceful. Dr. Vex discovered that his compound eyes, which had been damaged in a laboratory accident years ago, were now working perfectly. Stonewalker found that old injuries that had bothered him for decades no longer caused pain. Even Commander Vex, who had been suspicious of everyone and everything, seemed more relaxed and trusting. Is this what you do to people as well? Juan asked. Heal them. Not exactly heal, Goliath replied. I help them remember their own ability to heal. Your bodies know how to repair themselves. Sometimes they just need a little encouragement. But the most remarkable change was in Goliath himself. As his health returned, his true personality emerged. He was endlessly curious about the different species on the medical team. He asked thoughtful questions about their worlds, their cultures, their hopes and dreams. When he learned that Dr. Vex had been studying parasitic organisms, in hopes of finding cures for diseases, Goliath shared knowledge from a dozen worlds where similar problems had been solved. When Stonewalker mentioned that his home planet was suffering from earthquakes, Goliath taught him songs that could help stabilize geological formations. When Commander Vex talked about the constant wars in his sector of space, Goliath described peaceful conflict resolution methods that had worked for thousands of civilizations. You are like a living library, Juan said in amazement. You know solutions to problems that have not even been discovered yet. That is what happens when you live long enough and travel far enough, Goliath replied. You see the same problems arise over and over. You learn that most conflicts come from fear and misunderstanding. Is that what happened here? Dr. Vex asked. We feared you because we did not understand you. Yes, but I do not blame you. I appeared dangerous because I was in constant pain. Pain makes any being seem frightening, even when they mean no harm. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent transmission from the orbital station. Dr. Mira's voice came through with excitement and worry mixed together. Juan, we are detecting massive energy signatures approaching the system. Multiple contacts, all enormous. They are traveling at speeds that should be impossible. Goliath's entire body went still. How many ships? He asked. Not ships, Mira replied. These readings suggest living beings. Dozens of them. All the same size as Goliath. For the first time since his healing, Goliath showed strong emotion. Joy and relief flooded his voice. "My people," he said, "they have found me. After all these centuries, they have finally found me." But his joy quickly turned to concern. "You must tell them I am safe. If they see the battle damage around this planet, if they sense the pain I have been in for so long, they may think your people harmed me." Commander Vex paled. "What would happen if they thought we hurt you?" "My people are peaceful," Goliath said. "But we protect each other fiercely. If they believe you tortured me for centuries, they would see it as their duty to stop you from hurting anyone else ever again." The irony was terrible. Just when they had saved Goliath and learned the truth about his gentle nature, they might face destruction from his own people, who would not know what really happened. "How do we prove we helped you instead of hurting you?" Juan asked. Goliath was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he began to sing again. But this song was different from his healing melody. This was a song of joy, of gratitude, of love for the small beings who had given him back his life. The music rose into the sky like a beacon, carrying a message that only other eternal wanderers could understand. "Now they will know," Goliath said when the song ended. "They will know that I am free, and they will know who freed me." High above them, the approaching beings changed course. Instead of coming as warriors, they were coming as family. Eager to be reunited with their lost brother, the real first contact was about to begin. The sky darkened as the eternal wanderers approached. They moved through space without ships, traveling by methods that human science could not yet understand. Each being was as massive as Goliath. They moved with grace that made them seem to dance between the stars. "Dr. Miras." Voice crackled through the radio from the orbital station. "There are 47 of them. Their energy signatures are incredible, but they feel peaceful." Goliath's song worked. The first wanderer descended toward the planet like a living mountain, gently landing. As it touched the surface, waves of healing energy spread outward, making the flowers bloom brighter and the streams run clearer. Through the translation device, a new voice spoke. It was even deeper than Goliath's, like the sound of ancient forests growing. "Brother of our wandering," the new voice said, "we felt your pain across the void for so long. We searched every dimension to find you, Star Songkeeper," Goliath replied, and Juan could hear tears of joy in his voice. "I thought I would never see any of you again." More wanderers landed around them. Each one was unique in color and pattern, but all shared the same gentle energy that Goliath now possessed. They surrounded their lost brother, touching him carefully with massive limbs, confirming that he was real and alive and free. The reunion was beautiful to watch. But Juan felt small and fragile among so many giant beings. Commander Vex had his weapons ready, though everyone knew they would be useless against creatures this powerful. "Do not fear, small healers," Star Songkeeper said, noticing their nervousness. "We know what you have done for our brother. Your kindness echoes in every cell of his being. You can sense that." Dr. Vex asked in amazement. "We feel each other's experiences when we touch," another wanderer explained. Her voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Through Goliath, we have felt your courage. Human Juan, we have felt your wisdom. Insect friend Vex, we have felt the strength of Stonewalker and the protection of Commander Vex. And we have felt the careful guidance of Sky Voice Mira," added a third wanderer. Juan realized they were talking about Dr. Mira. Even though she was still on the orbital station, the wanderers could somehow sense her contributions to Goliath's healing. "We owe you a debt that can never be fully repaid," Star Songkeeper continued. "You saw past fear to find compassion. You risked your lives to save someone you barely knew. This is rare wisdom, even among the oldest civilizations." "We did what anyone should do," Juan said. "We helped someone who was suffering." "No," Goliath said gently. "Most beings would have done what your council almost did. They would have destroyed what they feared. Only humans looked deep enough to see my soul beneath the pain." The wanderers began to share their knowledge with the medical team. They taught Dr. Vex healing techniques that could cure diseases thought to be incurable. They showed Stonewalker how to strengthen planets against natural disasters. They gave Commander Vex strategies for ending conflicts without violence. To Dr. Mira, they transmitted star charts showing peaceful worlds where her research could help millions of beings. To Dr. Kong and the other council representatives listening from orbit, they offered friendship between species that could last for millennia. But their greatest gift was to Goliath himself. "Brother, it is time for your rest," Star Songkeeper said. "You have earned peace after so much suffering." "Yes," Goliath agreed. "I am so very tired." The Wanderers began to sing together. Their combined voices created music that seemed to reshape reality itself. The ground beneath Goliath became soft and welcoming. Flowers grew in intricate patterns around him. The air filled with the scent of growing things and the sound of gentle water. "This world will be your resting place," Star Songkeeper explained. "We will guard your sleep and tend the garden you have begun here. When you wake in a few thousand years, you will find a paradise waiting." Goliath looked at the medical team one last time. "Thank you," he said simply, "for seeing me, for believing in me, for giving me back my life." "Thank you for teaching us," Juan replied, "for showing us that sometimes the most frightening things just need someone to care." As Goliath settled into his resting position, his body began to change again. His skin hardened into a crystalline shell that would protect him during his long sleep. But unlike the parasitic crystals that had tortured him, these were beautiful and natural, glowing with soft, warm light. The transformation took several hours. When it was complete, Goliath looked like a living mountain made of gems and starlight. He was still massive, but now he seemed like a natural part of the landscape, as if he had always belonged there. "He will sleep peacefully now," Star Songkeeper said, "and his dreams will heal this world. In time, this planet will become one of the most beautiful places in the galaxy." The other wanderers began to disperse, some staying to guard Goliath's rest, others departing to continue their travels. But before they left, they made an offer to the Galactic Council. "We would like to establish formal relations with your civilization," Star Songkeeper said. "Your people have shown wisdom and compassion that we respect. We could learn from each other." Dr. Kang accepted the offer immediately on behalf of humanity. The other council species quickly agreed as well. First contact with the Eternal Wanderers would change galactic civilization forever. Commander. Dex was appointed as the first ambassador to the Wanderers. Dr. Vex became the head of a new medical research program based on Wanderer healing techniques. Stonewalker led efforts to use Wanderer knowledge for planetary protection. Dr. Myra established the Goliath Protocol, a new set of rules for first contact situations. The protocol required extensive communication attempts before any military action. It mandated that fear must never override the attempt to understand, and Dr. Juan was given the greatest honor of all. He was named Guardian of Goliath's Rest, responsible for protecting the sleeping giant and studying the paradise that would grow around him. Years passed. The planet transformed exactly as the Wanderers had predicted. What had once been a barren world became a garden of impossible beauty. Beings from across the galaxy came to visit, to study, and to learn from the example of healing over destruction. Juan aged, but the healing energy from Goliath's sleeping form kept him healthy and strong, far longer than normal human lifespans allowed. He used the extra years to document everything he learned about compassion, understanding, and the power of looking beyond surface appearances. The Galactic Council changed too. The Goliath Protocol became standard procedure. First contact situations were handled with patience and empathy instead of fear and aggression. Wars became rarer as species learned to communicate before fighting. Other sleeping monsters were discovered across the galaxy. But now, instead of destroying them, investigation teams tried to understand them first. Many turned out to be trapped or suffering beings like Goliath. Others were dangerous, but even then, the new approach led to better solutions than simple destruction. Dr. Juan often sat beside Goliath's sleeping form in the evenings, watching the colors shift across his crystalline shell. Sometimes he would tell the sleeping giant about the changes happening across the galaxy. about the peace treaty signed using Wanderer wisdom, about the diseases cured with Wanderer healing techniques, about the world saved from destruction because someone took time to understand instead of react. You did more than heal yourself, Juan would say. You helped heal the galaxy's ability to see past fear. On quiet nights, he thought he could hear Goliath's dreams, peaceful music that spoke of hope, healing, and the importance of rest after long suffering. The monster everyone had feared was gone. In its place was proof that sometimes the most frightening things in the universe are simply souls that need someone to offer them rest. And sometimes, when that rest is given freely and with love, it can change everything. The stars above Goliath's sleeping form seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe itself was grateful for the lesson in compassion that had been learned on this small, transformed world. In the end, it had not taken weapons or force to defeat the monster. It had taken only one person willing to look closely enough to see that monsters and souls are sometimes the same thing, just waiting for someone to care enough to tell the difference.